at times when you are detoxifying, it's kind of like the emotions are what lead to where the toxins are stored, right? Or where there's stagnation in the body. And then when you start to actually remove those, then the emotions come up to the surface.
Hello, welcome to the Myers Detox Podcast. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers. Thanks for tuning in. On this show, we talk about everything related to heavy metal and chemical toxicity, the health issues caused by toxins, and all more advanced topics than you'll hear on other shows like anti-aging and bioenergetics and other topics that I'd like to talk about, emotional trauma, for instance. But today we're going to talk with my colleague, Kyle Peche. He's going to be talking about mineral balancing, about the emotions that you may experience while you're detoxing, how to mitigate detox symptoms, how to prevent detox symptoms. And we talk about a lot of interesting topics and frequently asked questions around detoxification. But mainly we'll talk about, how to minimize Herx detox reactions and transforming your psychology with detoxification. Just really, really interesting show today. And for Kyle, at the age of 18, when people should be filled with energy and good health, Kyle became severely ill. He had brain fog, debilitating fatigue, severe constipation, GI issues, joint pain, skin rashes, and dozens of other symptoms. And for many years, he carried a deep frustration of wanting to excel and achieve, but felt blocked by the exhaustion and mental fogginess. And I think a lot of young people today are dealing with that as well. And he often found frustration through many conventional and alternative healing systems. And after many years of obsessive research, he eventually found his way to health through detoxification and mineral balancing with HTMA, or hair mineral analysis. So he discovered this work is not only a way to create lasting healing, but also a way to enhance one's physical and cognitive performance. And he also felt it to be sort of a spiritual process. And with passion ignited from his own suffering, he's been coaching people on how to achieve the same results that he's gotten for the last few years. And you can learn more about Kyle and work with him at jyotimineralbalancing.com. It's JYOTI mineralbalancing.com. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on, Wendy.
Yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into detox?
Sure. So me, like so many practitioners today, I went through a pretty crazy health journey myself. Really, going all the way back, I never was fully healthy. I always felt kind of disassociated, brain fogged. I didn't know what it was back then, but I just knew I couldn't really connect to the world in the same way I felt like a lot of my peers could, and I couldn't really perform to the levels of I felt like I maybe could deep down. But around the age of 18, I had a real health collapse. It was actually an emotional stressor with my family that really did me in after, of course, years and years and years of an unhealthy lifestyle and no sleep and processed foods and such. But seemingly overnight, I developed maybe 24 different symptoms, mainly nervous system related, but brain fog so bad I couldn't have a conversation with people. I mean, I would forget the last sentence that was being spoken. I would forget the names of good friends, like people that I knew. I was like, for
I've been
some
there
reason,
before.
oh yeah, yeah. It's so strange. It's so
Yeah.
strange. But yeah, I was having panic attacks and just anxiety about my anxiety about my anxiety, and my digestion was broken. I had maybe five safe food choices, right? I had joint pain and muscle aches and no exercise tolerance and awful sleep and so on and so forth. And so, I became pretty debilitated when I was supposed to be, at my prime, and I was studying to go to medical school and all that. So I then got a taste of conventional medicine, which, has its applications, but for me, it did not work for my chronic symptoms, unfortunately. And I went down a very, very long path trying hundreds of thousands in supplements, protocols, practitioners, really going the gamut in diets, alternative health practitioners. And really, my first taste of health, right, actually having a breakthrough was when I was introduced to detoxification in around 2018. I learned a little bit about drainage, a little bit about binding, and that was the first thing that actually gave me relief for the first time in my health journey, like lasting relief. And so then I went on, I made several mistakes doing things out of order, inappropriate chelation, parasite killing, which then made me worse. And then I had to really continue to learn from different mentors until I found myself in a very stable place and actually healthy for the first time in my life, which I didn't even realize. So, long story short, People started asking me for advice, and now here I am helping people go through the same process I went through and find stellar health on the other side. So yeah, it's been great.
That's great. Yeah. And so are you're using hair mineral analysis, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's my primary tool for assessing cases, although I do often go through basic blood work and I also love really going deep into people's symptom profile. I think there's a lot of valuable insights about what's going on in a case if you actually just know how to listen to the little signals that the body gives us.
Hmm. Yeah. And so can you tell us, you said you made some mistakes along the way. You did some chelation and some parasite killing. And a lot of people are doing that. They kind of think they hear something about parasites. They hear something about, oh, they want to detox, so they go to their doctor and the doctor does chelation or because that's, what you're going to find in the medical realm. So can you talk about some those mistakes and some other ones that people make when they're trying to detox and resolve their health issues?
Sure. Well, maybe the main mistake I made was generally just waging war against my own body, which is just this whole idea of there's this disease entity and we just need to attack, 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 and destroy, destroy, destroy. And that is, it has its application again in certain situations, but when that's the only way you're approaching healing, I think you end up running into a lot of instability. And that's what happened to me. So, after I got a taste of the benefits of detox for the first time in my life, I then jumped into parasite killing. And that's when all hell broke loose. I didn't know up from down. I was so unstable in my health. My symptoms got so much worse, and I didn't know if I was pushing too hard, if I was just having an overgrowth of parasites, all this stuff. And what I actually needed at the time was I needed to better build my foundations, right? And that is why hair analysis and mineral balancing, when I was introduced to that later, that's what made all the difference to actually allow my body to have the resources and my immune system to have the resources to handle parasite cleansing and actually reap the fruits from that style of work, which can be incredible at the right time. But for me, it was at the wrong time.
Yeah,
Right.
and
So
can you talk about hair mineral analysis and what that is exactly?
sure. So, hair mineral analysis is simply looking at the levels of minerals in the hair using a standardized process. I practice the style of Dr. Paul Eck, right, which is his way of interpreting hair analysis and all the research he's done over 50, 60 years, taking from many different branches of medicine, like the theories of stress and so on and so forth. So, hair mineral analysis, what I found is it's not just about looking at deficiencies and toxicities, although that is one of the applications of it. What is very interesting is that when it's properly interpreted and calibrated, you can get a really good assessment of many different organs, your adrenal glands, your thyroid glands, your liver function. You can actually see different states of cellular health, degrees of calcification, cellular voltage, so on and so forth. And maybe the most important thing, the most important piece of information that hair analysis gives me as a practitioner and my clients as well is I know what to give them, right? There are certain mineral patterns and certain states of stress that require a different blend of nutrients to really maximize a person's rejuvenation.
And now a word from one of our sponsors. Two of the most powerful supplements for women's health are whey protein and creatine. Studies show that women have about 70 to 80% lower natural creatine stores than men, which impacts our muscle function, muscle recovery, our brain functioning, and even our mood. Pure Creatine Plus combines pure creatine monohydrate with taurine to support muscle strength, performance, muscle recovery, faster workout recovery, and cognitive health as well. And I love the results of taking creatine. I honestly had never taken creatine before in my life before I started taking the Pure Creatine, and I absolutely love its effect on my mental clarity. And it is also especially beneficial for both pre and post-menopausal women as well. It's shown in research to support bone health, improve cortisol response, support thyroid function, and so much more. And like everything that Puree makes, each batch of Creatine Plus is third-party tested for over 200 harmful contaminants, and it's clean certified by the Clean Label Project as well. So you're only getting clean, safe ingredients. And the test results are published online for complete transparency. All you have to do is scan the QR code on the bottle. Now let's talk about whey protein. So protein is essential for women. A lot of people are not getting enough protein. And many protein powders on the market are loaded with toxins and heavy metals and harmful contaminants. But the Clean Label Project reviewed over 160 top-selling protein powders in the US and found that 47% exceeded California Prop 65 safety limits for lead, with 21 containing double the acceptable amount. And so that's horrifying when you think about it and how many people are drinking protein shakes daily, believing that they're doing something healthy. And so that's why I use and trust Puree's PW1 whey protein. I absolutely love the vanilla flavor. It tastes incredible. I love the dark chocolate also. Like it tastes like a fancy chocolate milk, but it's clean and safe, not like a lot of other cacaos and chocolate products on the market. And my daughter Winter loves the vanilla flavor. She loves making smoothies. And recently, Vogue also named Puree PW1 whey protein the best overall whey protein powder. And for all the right reasons, if you ask me, like I said, my daughter's making smoothies daily, and I have peace of mind knowing that she's using this protein powder that's clean, pure, and safe, and it's been tested for purity. And so here's how I use the PW1 and the creatine every morning. I make a shake with coconut water, a scoop of the PW1 protein and the creatine plus, and I add berries, maybe a banana, some dates, a little pinch of salt. And that helps me stay strong, focused, and energized throughout the day. And I know that I feel good knowing that I'm fueling my body with truly clean supplements. And so go feel the difference for yourself. Taste the difference also. Go to puree.com/Wendy and use code Wendy at checkout for 20% off. Again, that's PURI.com/Wendy. And that code even works on your already discounted subscriptions, giving you almost a third off of the regular price. So don't wait. Go try the PW and the Creatine Plus today. Clean, science-backed supplements that you can actually trust. Again, go to puree.com/Wendy and use coupon code Wendy. Okay, great. And what I love about hair mineral analysis is looking at the minerals, because I think minerals aren't sexy. Like people are not, they're not thinking of, or they're not focusing on minerals like they should be for their health. And it's the very foundation of your health. It's the spark plugs of the body, like Dr. Paul Eck has said. Can you talk a little about that and why it's so important to balance them, so to speak?
Sure. Well, they are, as you said, the spark plugs of our body. They're also, I describe them as the walls of our inner fortress, right? So they have such a big impact on our immune system and its ability to actually handle infections, on our different detoxification enzymes, on our different neurotransmitters, on our ability to digest food, right? And actually receive the nutrients from food as well. And so when it's out of balance, it can be very difficult to progress in almost any healing protocol I've found, just because you are not giving the body the resources it actually needs to handle the work you're trying to put it through. Right. So it can be really, really incredible. It really makes up the backbone of all my programs. I think we always need to be thinking about not just removing all the toxins, which, as you know, we are in a swamp of toxins that just this environment continues to only get more toxic, but we're also in generationally depleted times, right? So generation after generation, people are becoming more and more depleted. Their minerals are becoming more and more imbalanced due to a variety of factors, like, the way crops are being grown and different pesticides that disrupt mineral balance and different toxins that also disrupt mineral balance. So I find it extremely important for a person to actually have the energy, the vital energy, and again, the resources to be able to handle deeper work of detoxification.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my cousin, I just put her on magnesium. She's really having a lot of health challenges. And just taking magnesium, she feels so much better. She can't even believe it. And I had that same experience when I had never really thought about taking minerals before, maybe in your multivitamin. But when I first started doing mineral balancing with HTMA, I started taking magnesium and calcium. And I could not believe how much better I felt, like how much of a difference. Because a lot of people are taking turmeric, or they hear something from a global healing center, or they take some, whatever, they're taking some herbs or just something else. It just seems like they have to have it, some antioxidants, but people they don't realize how much they need minerals, and they need to focus on that as the foundation of their health.
Absolutely. Well, herbs are beautiful and they have so many different applications, but Many times they're being used symptomatically, and I feel like what people really need today is a rebuilding from the ground up, right, of their biochemistry, and that's where mineral balancing can be so useful.
And that can take a while. It can take a
Okay,
long time because we are so depleted, and stress depletes all the doom scrolling, all that blue light, and not sleeping well. That stresses us out, all the EMF, and we lose minerals as a result of that.
of course. Yeah, I don't think it's realistic, for example, if this is an issue that's been compounding for decades and potentially generations, depending on where you grew up and such. Um, I don't think that's realistic to get rid of that in, just a few weeks of taking some minerals, even just a few months. It is a long-term process. Of course, you can make some incredible jumps in short periods of time if you get on the right protocol and do it the right thing at the right time. But still, this is something that I think needs to be looked at as a lifestyle, right? How do we change our long-term habits to promote high states of functioning, even in the face of all this depletion and all this toxicity?
Yeah, and so let's talk about detox symptoms because this is
Mhm.
something that, everyone experiences when they're doing a detox program, and but some of their symptoms may not be detox symptoms. It may be like something else. Can you talk a little about that? Or let's just start with detox symptoms just to simplify it.
Sure. Well, I actually like to make a distinction between true healing reactions and over detoxification, right? So detox symptoms. So most of the time, what people experience when they are detoxifying is a stirring up of things that was stored deeper within. And as it comes out, you can have a variety of things come up. Usually people experience maybe some more fatigue, maybe some more anxiety, maybe some more brain fog. And some degree of that is totally normal in a detox program. Again, this is very, very deep work. The issue I'm seeing a lot right now is many programs push it way too far. They overwhelm the body's ability to actually completely drain out and release what is being mobilized from deeper within. And so they have ongoing detox symptoms, ongoing detox reactions. And I think most of those can be minimized. Right. The thing about them, again, they can be so varied, right? They can be almost anything depending on what a person is coming to you with and what their symptom profile already is. But again, most commonly, it's that anxiety, that fatigue, that brain fog, maybe some GI distress, right? Now, that is something that happens, right? And really, it's up to the skill of the practitioner to try to minimize that. Um, but there is a whole separate phenomenon I've noticed as well that's called healing reactions. In mineral balancing, is known as retracing. And this often happens after a person has built up substantial energy, right? They've actually already usually been feeling way better on a protocol. And all of a sudden they have this dip, right? Where their body actually completes a healing process it wasn't able to before, right? It sort of revisits the scene of the crime just to complete everything and clean up house. And so this is where, people again could have been feeling really good. Then they drop back down and all of a sudden they're experiencing all sorts of emotions or maybe symptoms they haven't experienced in years. And then after usually a short while, it clears out and people feel better than ever, right? It's a very interesting phenomenon, and any true deep healing program will produce those. Those are just more rare than the common detox reactions.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so important, like you mentioned before, to have a good foundation of your health before you want to start flooding your body with all these toxins to just add to the burden it's already dealing with, because our body stores these toxins away in our glands and in our fat and our bones, and when you start mobilizing those, that can really make you feel terrible.
Yeah, yeah, you have to approach it very carefully for sure.
Yes. And so can you talk about some like detox symptoms? Some things are like legitimate detox symptoms that people should be like looking for, perhaps even expect when they're doing detox, like mineral balancing or like sauna, for instance.
Sure. Yeah. So again, it would be that kind of fatigue is a very common one. Increase in anxiety, brain fog, GI distress, right? Those are the most common ones, especially GI distress is one that happens a lot just because the nature of the way our body likes to actually release toxins is it wants to mainly push it out into the colon, into the poop, right? Through the liver into the poop. And we should really optimize that pathway as much as possible. That's why things like intestinal binders and colon cleansing can be so, so helpful in this journey. But when it's coming down, it's very common that you might have maybe some changes in your bowel movements and gas and that kind of thing, right? So those are, again, the most common ones that I see.
I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors today. It's True Energy Skincare. And this is the skincare line that I'm using, and they have an amazing product out. It's called the Energy Optimized Body Sculpting Stone that you see right here. And also, I love their refreshingly revitalizing hand and body lotion. I use this every single day. This is part of my nightly routine using the sculpting stone and the body lotion. And so I love True Energy Skincare and the sculpting system. It's called the True Energy Body Sculpting System. It's designed to support lymphatic detox and fascia repair. And the protocol targets the acupressure points to activate the body's natural detox pathways. So what I'm doing every night is putting the lotion on, and then I go over my whole body a few times with this stone. And you go over your entire body, and they have a little, information kit to guide you on what to do. And this stone, it's made of natural bion stone, and it's energy optimized with True Energy's proprietary biophoton frequencies. And so we sometimes refer to them as beauty frequencies, helping to communicate to the body at a cellular level to act as if it's young again. So it's sending new information. It's sending frequencies to your skin to improve collagen, improve elasticity, help with lymphatic flow, and help with, flushing and detoxification of your skin. And when paired with the bioactive functional hand and body lotion, it enhances hydration, it combats dullness, and brings out a healthy glow. And the lotion, it's also energy optimized with the same proprietary frequencies, using a little green bead inside it that it has all the frequencies imprinted on it. And so this powerful combo is ideal for those dealing with premature skin aging, cellulite, feeling bloated or swollen, and all the signs often linked to stagnant lymph flow and toxin buildup. So you can get this duo at trytrueenergy.com/Wendy-2. So again, it's trytrueenergy.com/Wendy-2. And so you can get this combo at that link. And again, I do this every single night. I'm absolutely in love with True Energy Skincare because everything I do in my life is frequency based. So you guys know that listening to the show, I'm obsessed with bioenergetics. I've got bioenergetic software running, but I just everything I do has frequencies imprinted on it, and everything that I use that includes my skincare. I cannot recommend True Energy highly enough. Yes. And so what what kind of things can people do to, mitigate these detox symptoms?
Sure. So, the most important thing, I think, and I really think it's mandatory for any serious detox program, is to have good toxin binders on board, right? So, some people know the most common toxin binders, your charcoal, your bentonite clay, maybe even your diatomaceous earth. And although those are useful in some scenarios, I do find those generally too depleting and not specific enough for things like heavy metals, which is maybe one of the most important toxins people are facing today. So I like binders like Pectosol, your Citrocleanse as well, I believe is a really good binder. And there's many others out there, right? I like Interis Gel. I like some of the Cellcore binders like Carboxy, so on and so forth. So that's really important. And generally, whenever a person is experiencing more of those symptoms, it's a very, at least for me and what I teach my clients, it's a very simple solution. Reduce most supplements, increase your binders, increase your water intake, try to flush your colon as well. So as I mentioned, most toxins are going to try to come out through the colon. So by flushing it with something like oxy powder, that can really make all the difference in getting a person out of a funk, so to speak, pretty quickly. I think there's also a lot of space for limbic system techniques, emotional regulation techniques as well to help stabilize the nervous system, because oftentimes, especially when a person's been sick for a while, and they start feeling better and then they drop back down, they get this panic that gets layered on top, right? So maybe the actual toxin itself is maybe 30-40% of what they're feeling. That extra 60% is their actual reaction to what they're feeling. They get freaked out, they get scared. Why am I feeling off? All this stuff. And so as much as you can to empower people to have good techniques to regulate themselves in the face of something like that and to begin to trust the process more and more, this becomes a lot smoother.
Yeah, I mean that health PTSD, as I term it, is it's real. I mean, especially if you've been sick for a long time, you can start to kind of panic that your old symptoms are coming back or they're even more intense than what you had before you started detoxing because you're kind of mobilizing all the stuff that caused those symptoms in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to do a lot of deprogramming myself. Of course, having a collapsed body for that long where you don't tolerate any foods, you can't take on any responsibilities or any additional. You can't really engage with life because you don't know how you'll be feeling one day versus the next. It took a lot to begin to really just trust my body again. But that is one of the reasons why true detoxification, true mineral balancing, and rejuvenation at a deep level can lead to such profound changes, not just in a person's symptoms, but in a person's psyche and how they show up in the world.
So why don't you talk about how to prevent detox symptoms in the first place? Because it's very easy to cause them by over detoxing. Because I think some people they start on a detox program like I did, and I just started going crazy and started doing everything and committing a lot of time to it. And it's very easy for people to go overboard. So and then cause these detox symptoms. So how can you prevent them in the first place?
Sure. I think it boils down to kind of maybe two main things. The first thing is to really respect the order of operations in this process because there is such thing as doing something that could be incredible for you, could really just change your life, but doing that at the wrong time and having it mess you up, essentially, as what happened to me many times. For example, uh, I've gone through this journey quite a lot and I had all my mentors along the way. And early on, I tried a high dose of cilantro on my own. And I didn't know the phenomenon of redistribution. And so, because I hadn't already done a lot in draining and clearing out what was, for example, in the extracellular space already, when I brought things from the intracellular space and flooded my connective tissue, I ended up getting so many more symptoms and it was a complete mess. Now, that was early on. Way later in my process, when I reapproached it in a more strategic way, and of course at the right time, doing cilantro and my own kind of mercury detox mixture I give people actually fixed my lifelong ADHD. I mean, I had always felt scattered since I was a kid and couldn't really focus. And after that, all of a sudden, my motivation was 4x'd, right? My focus was 4x'd. And I just didn't even realize that there was this persistent, layer of toxins like deep within that was distorting the way I approached and behaved, even though by then I was already pretty high functioning. So doing things at the right time is absolutely critical. Just the way I approach it, I think there's many, many ways to do it. There's a lot of amazing practitioners doing some amazing work out there. The way I do it and the way I've kind of developed this step-by-step approach based on working some really sensitive clients too, is I mainly start with drainage pathways. I mainly start with how are toxins flowing from the cells all the way out into the colon. And within that, there's maybe two major steps, which is healing the gut, restoring the intestinal lining, trying to remove some of the pesticides that destroy our microbiome as well, like glyphosate is the one that everyone knows about today. Um, and then working on the liver, which of course has over 500 vital functions, is always kind of like the engine filter for our blood, always keeping it clean. And so that's a distinct phase as well. And so optimizing that using binders, using high quality minerals like guided by hair tissue mineral analysis helps build this beautiful foundation for people to actually handle detox, right? So that when things come out, now this drainage pathway, this funnel is so much more open. And a person also has the energy and the resources from all the minerals to properly take it all the way out. And then you have the binders on board to catch it on its way out as well, right? So that as well as other foundations I find are really important. Now, after that, I do find that in some cases it can be very helpful to approach parasite work, right? I think a person has to be very stable for that. Really, it's an unfortunate truth today that wherever there are toxins in the environment, there are often generally a lot of parasites. There's a lot of studies done, for example, with polluted rivers and polluted lakes, that the more toxic those bodies of water are, the more parasites those fish in there actually have, right? And so they're kind of like a cleanup crew, a bioremediator of sorts. And so there's no good reason to try to kill them early if your terrain is still extremely toxic. And so all this binding, all this draining, all these foundations can help do a lot to change your inner terrain such that you can just put an eviction notice and do a strong parasite cleanse that should be well tolerated by then and actually get full resolution of the symptoms that are being driven by that, right? After that, I usually end with the intracellular space, which is, your chelation work, right? And that can be done in a variety of ways. But when it's done properly, it can lead to more breakthroughs. So that's the general order how I approach it. And I think it, changes depending on the person. There's many other factors that need to be considered from, the issue we faced after 2020 as well, right? With certain medical procedures and certain viruses going around, or things like mast cell activation, which can be a big issue for people early on. I think these are things that kind of like Lego blocks need to be brought into a protocol depending on the case. So the other thing that I think is really important to help minimize reactions is to respect the tools, right? So the stronger a tool, the more potential it has to bring up reactions, but also the more potential it has to make an incredible change in your health quickly, right? And so if you respect the tools by simply implementing things one at a time, very slowly, and continuing a dialogue with your own body, right? So you take something and you tune in. How does this actually make me feel over the next few days, right? Something as simple as that can go a long way in helping you know what your limit is, what your edge is in this whole process, right? So doing that, there's also a few other techniques I like, the pinch method, which is just like opening up a capsule, or taking a powdered supplement and just doing pinches every day until you acclimate to it.
Are you taking collagen supplements? Well, check this out. So, our friends at Organifi have sourced the best collagen on the planet, and you can get it with 20% off savings today, too. So, what is collagen? So, it's the most abundant protein in our body. It's everywhere. It's in your muscles, your joints, your hair, your skin, your fingernails, everywhere. And it's one of the fundamental building blocks of life. And your body uses collagen constantly to keep itself refreshed and repaired. But as you get older, especially as women that are going into menopause, you can lose 30% of your collagen within the first 5 years of menopause. And that starts in perimenopause as well. So your body just stops making as much of it and you start losing it, especially as your estrogen levels come down. And so that's why consuming collagen is such a great idea every single day. So it gives your body a fresh supply to keep working at its best. And it's not only good for your hair, skin, and nails, it helps to support your gut and metabolic health, your immune system, your cardiovascular strength, and all of your muscles and moving parts too. And collagen's nothing new. It's one of the oldest supplements out there. And collagen supplements have been around for quite a while now. But what makes Organifi so special is it's all about the quality. So the non-organic collagens scare me. They're really, really problematic because they can be full of glyphosate and pesticides and other chemicals that you do not want to be taking on a daily basis. Because not all collagens are the same. So it can come from many different sources. And the source can drastically impact its potency and effectiveness as well. And some manufacturers just go with the cheapest stuff that they can find and then add fillers and artificial flavors, and they still charge you a lot of money for that. So Organifi always goes the extra mile to ensure their quality is the best. So they blend 5 collagen types from 4 different sources, and they taste and test until it's perfect. And then they go even further to test for things like glyphosate residue and other sneaky toxins that can get into the mix. And after passing through all of these goalposts, it finally gets the Organifi seal of approval. So you can rest assured it's the highest quality and non-toxic. And I love that this company is a company that I can trust, that their products will be safe and effective exactly as they say they will be. And in the supplement world these days, that kind of honesty and transparency is getting harder to come by. So if you've never tried collagen, now is a great time to start. And if you're already taking it, now is a great time to switch to a better brand, upgrade what you're doing right now. So you and your entire body are going to love Organifi. Collagen is something that I take on a daily basis. It's been a part of my supplement routine for the past 5 years since I went into menopause. And so I can't recommend it highly enough. And so now let's talk about saving you some cash as well. Here's what you do. Go to Organifi.com/Myers Detox and put in coupon code Myers Detox to get 20% off. So go to Organifi, ORGANIFI.com/MYERS and don't forget the Myers Detox coupon code as well. You'll save an extra 20% off by putting in my special coupon code Myers Detox. So like I said, collagen is one of those things that I take every single day. It's one of the most important parts of my anti-aging protocol, the things I'm doing to fight off the clock. So for me, taking clean collagen is really important. It's hard to find. So I highly, highly recommend Organifi collagen. Yeah, some people
Okay.
are so sensitive. That's all they can handle. They
Oh
just have
yeah.
to titrate up very, very slowly.
Yeah. And really, that's why the dose is not what is, in my opinion, what is said on the bottle often. It's just what a person can tolerate and can still find that gradual, steady progress. So if you can find that gradual, steady progress in a case, eventually it compounds on itself and then you get into exponential returns.
Yeah, and so this really showcases the fact that you really need to work with a practitioner when you're detoxing. This is not a DIY project because there's a million questions that come up. I think people start doing detox work, they're usually taking all kinds of supplements that they don't really need, and they have multiple health issues that need to be addressed in a very specific order, like you said. So it's not something to be taken lightly because people can and do get themselves into trouble.
Yeah, I know that from experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so can you talk about how you address the liver, like how you work on it, improving the liver and the liver detox pathway? Because a lot of people have problems with their liver. There's people in the United States alone, there's 100 million not people that have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so they're already kind of behind the eight ball when it comes to their liver function. So anyone who's overweight, maybe, 30 plus pounds overweight, or have diabetes or prediabetes, probably have fatty liver.
yeah, it's huge for sure. It's very, very important. And what's crazy too is that the liver can fully regenerate too, right? I mean, there was, I think, a study done where they surgically removed about 80% of the volume of the liver. And after a little while, it actually regrew to its full size. So you have to really kind of put this in context of how much our liver is doing all the time to keep us healthy for it to end up with, fatty liver and, liver congestion issues that people have today. So, I think again, you have to start with the gut, right? Within that, removing glyphosate, I like to do early on because that does impact I believe, our phase 1 liver detox enzymes. And so doing that can actually start to help the process go. I also like to start with some gentle bitter herbs, right? You can't go wrong with some dandelion, some gentian, some milk thistle. Those kind of things can gently start to get the liver and the bile moving. And then sequentially, I build up in strength. So as we start to get things moving, and for me, the pinnacle of liver cleansing is having people do liver flushes. So liver flushes are really a mechanical way to clean out a lot of the sludge and the debris that can be stuck in the actual gallbladder. And out of all the liver techniques, I've found that's the one that generates the most breakthroughs for people. So when it's appropriate, right? I have them doing that about once a month in my programs, and that just speeds everything up dramatically. I do like the Global Healing Center Liver Flush program. I think it's a very accessible, simple way to do it. But I also teach people kind of my DIY techniques. So things to, you know, how to do the prep phase, how to do the flush day in a way that's sustainable, and what to do the day afterwards, like binding and potentially doing a colonic to really clear anything out that might be circulating afterwards. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, there might be other things I might throw in here and there, like phosphatidylcholine and such, but that's really about it.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like $1 million after you do a liver flush. I'm always just blown away by how clear my thinking is and how much better I feel after doing that. And you have less food sensitivities and just all kinds of benefits.
Absolutely.
You earned it though, because it's a little bit torturous. You
Little
gotta.
bit, little bit. Yeah, especially when it's your first few times doing it and there's a lot of stagnation, like you can get nauseous and such, and it's pretty unpleasant. But sometimes you got to work for it in this field.
Let's talk about repressed emotions and how repressed emotions can impair detoxification, because it's a really interesting component of detox. I think a lot of people don't realize. Like when I released a lot of aluminum, I had a lot of anxiety, and it was really really interesting. And that was my first introduction to how certain metals can cause emotional issues and vice versa. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I mean, really, there's a deep interconnection between these toxins and our emotional scars and our unprocessed emotions. Chinese medicine understood that very well with the different associations, like anger impacting the liver and worry impacting the spleen and grief impacting the lungs and such, right? But practically, what I see in this work is that it's really important to work on both simultaneously because at times when you are detoxifying, it's kind of like the emotions are what lead to where the toxins are stored, right? Or where they are kind of where there's stagnation in the body. And then when you start to actually remove those, then the emotions come up to the surface. And I have to really be prepared for that with people because they can all of a sudden start to feel things they haven't felt in years as it's coming up. So I try to empower them with, different somatic practices and breathwork practices to move things out when it comes up. But it's very interesting. I mean, again, it's a deep process that isn't just physical healing. I think that's the most base expression of detoxification. The higher expressions, it's a full blown transformation of mind and body, and really an awakening of who a person is. Because you know, if I've seen many times with my clients, just like with my own journey, I didn't really know who I was until I removed this mountain of sludge within and metals that were distorting the way I see the world, right? I mean, most of these are neurotoxins, for example, and so they're going to impact the way we perceive the world with our senses, and the way we think, and the way we behave, and the way we approach different scenarios. And so, once I detoxed, I just found myself being myself very easily. These flow states where I express myself all the time, and I just didn't know what that was like until I actually went through the process, right? So, yeah, it's huge, and there's countless kind of examples I could point to on this. There was a case I had where the person did something extremely scary, right? They moved across the country, and then on a subsequent retest, they actually had a massive elimination of copper afterwards. And why copper, right? Well, Dr. Pollack and his system, copper is often associated with feelings of fear, right? Feelings of anxiety, and the impacts it has on our neurotransmitters often reflect that. So this person has this huge emotional breakthrough and overcomes a massive fear that they needed to do, and all of a sudden you're seeing this mobilization of toxins. Dr. Klinghardt talks a lot about this as well. There was one case I remember he mentioned of essentially there was a singer out in the East who was chronically ill, and they were measuring the levels of metals in her urine, right? And then all of a sudden, after doing some trauma work with her, where they uncovered unfortunately a sexual trauma at the age of 12. Uh, Afterwards, they saw that the levels of mercury in her urine rose thousands of times above the reference range. Right.
Mm.
And so, I mean, I see that over and over, situations where people are releasing a lot of iron, right? All of a sudden, then you see they're releasing a lot of anger. They're releasing a lot of resentment and frustration, right? And it comes up to the surface and goes away, and they feel lighter afterwards. So, yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful process, but that's why, again, I think we can't keep ourselves stuck in a box of we just need to take supplements. We just need to do the physical, because if we want to really achieve lasting, deep healing, I think we need to work on all levels.
I want to say a couple words about one of our Myers Detox podcast sponsors, Qualia Senolytic. So it's a cutting edge formula designed to help your body eliminate senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. So these outdated cells, they hang around, draining your energy and slowing your workout recovery and causing all kinds of havoc and mayhem. So, backed by clinical research, Qualia Senolytic uses 9 plant-based compounds that support joint comfort, sharper focus, and better aging naturally. And here's the kicker: you only have to take it 2 days a month. Simple, backed by science, validated by research. You can try it risk-free with a 100-day money-back guarantee. Go to qualialife.com/Wendy. That's QUALIA life.com/Wendy and use code Wendy to get 15% off. You want to try Qualia Senolytic. This is something that I've been taking. It's part of my anti-aging protocol because getting older doesn't have to feel like it. Yeah. So anyone that's, listening to this and, wants to sign up to go on a roller coaster ride, if you're in the right place to, go on that journey to feeling better. But yeah, I had the same experience where when I was in my early 20s, I had all these mercury fillings, had about 5 or 6, and I just wanted them removed because they were ugly, and they were, I didn't know anything about biological dentistry, so I had them removed improperly, and subsequently spent the rest of my 20s probably pretty depressed. And that the mercury does have that side effect, that neurological side effect of causing depression. And I had no idea why I felt depressed or not excited about life. But yeah, these metals can really have a profound effect on how you view and perceive the world. And so I totally agree with what you said about really being able to step into your life purpose, once you get rid of all this garbage that's interfering in everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's countless studies of that, and there's the historical examples, like the Mad Hatters, right,
Mm.
where they were, creating hats with mercury, and they would subsequently lose their minds. And interestingly, what I see anecdotally is that mercury toxicity often creates this wacky thinking, this spinning, maybe fast moving mind that isn't really too grounded as well. And other people, and of course, can create depression, right? It certainly did for me as well. But then there's other ones like lead, right? So when lead was added to gasoline, we had a huge increase in juvenile delinquent behavior and antisocial behavior for the years afterwards, right? And so, we know that it can often disrupt the dopamine systems in the brain and GABA systems as well, and can, then ripple out into people not really behaving the way they would without that, right? So.
So let's talk about the experience you had of depersonalization during your healing journey, because I think that's important for people to hear about that, because I think there's a lot of people feeling very disconnected, very disassociated, wanting to connect with other people and just kind of just not feeling a part of the world, and they don't really understand that connection to toxins. It's not something innately wrong with them.
Yeah. Well, I I used to think I was lazy. I used to think I was apathetic. I used to think I was unmotivated, right? And I also used to think that I couldn't really make friends easily or connect with the world easily or have creative flow very easily. I struggled so much even though I was, raised on, doing piano and athletics and such. For some reason, I just never felt connected to any of these things. I didn't really feel it in my body. And what I then realize is that these are symptoms of depersonalization, right? Which is this feeling of nothing is real, or this feeling that you are far away from the world, right? No, often some of the most enjoyable experiences that we have in life are when we feel connected, right? When we feel connected to other people, when we feel connected to nature, when we are fully immersed in a work we are passionate about, or a hobby we're passionate about, or a loved one, where we can just connect and really just um, be there, right? And so again, disassociation and DPDR, right? So depersonalization is this feeling almost like you're floating above your body. You're not quite there. That's what I experienced for many years. I felt like, again, I was floating above my body. And so I think a lot of this work really is, can we clean the physical body, can we clean it out so that we can feel more embodied, more present in our nervous systems, which ultimately is the bridge between, if you want to get esoteric, maybe who we are, our soul, and the 3D world around us, right? It's this vessel for who we are. So yeah, it's an epidemic today. It's not just the toxins. The toxins are playing a big role, but of course, it's these compounded emotions, and many times people, instead of feeling deeply into those emotions, they disassociate, they check out, and then they contribute to that DPDR, right? Or of course, technology today is really people connecting to that and then disconnecting from nature and the rhythms of nature and other people. So yeah, it's a very common thing I run into my practice, and I do find that working on all levels, and especially things like heavy metal detox, can really lead to some wonderful experiences of people becoming embodied again, feeling music really for the first time in their lives, right? Or feeling the joy of a deep conversation, right? Where they were going through the motions before and maybe stuck in their head, actually feeling that in an embodied present way.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize they don't realize how bad they feel, or they're just so used to having brain fog or having fatigue, and that kind of becomes their normal. And they don't, like, for me, when I was definitely very mercury poisoned, I didn't realize how much just more happy I could feel, or how much more, quick-witted, or just how much more brain clarity that I could have, because I just thought, oh, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, I must, this is it. This is as good as it's going to get,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
people don't realize how the levels they can get to, if they're willing to make that investment of time and energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why again it's like the healing of the physical symptoms is just the most basic expression of this work. The higher states that you can achieve, really exploring what it's even like to be human, right? Because we kind of were born into this world, and now we're going uphill because of the swamp of toxins and all the toxic pharmaceuticals and deficiencies that people have accumulated. Now they're working against that. And so it's a wonderful journey to be like, well, what is the natural state of a human, and how high of a state of functioning of energy and mental clarity can you get to?
Yeah. And so tell people how they can work with you and what your website is.
Sure. So my website is Jyoti Mineral Balancing. So JYOTI. You can do MB.com. There I have a bunch of articles that I've written, other podcasts I've done like this, and just, my information where people can contact me. I do a lot of coaching programs with people where I essentially go into the trenches with them and teach them how all these things work, how all these phases work, and guide them through mineral balancing as well, so they can leave empowered in their health and know how to care for themselves long term. I'm also on Instagram. So my Instagram is just at Kyle_Peche, Peche. So yeah, you can find me out there.
So for anyone listening that really wants to detox their body, go to heavymetalsquiz.com. I created a quiz for you. It only takes a couple of seconds. Based on some lifestyle questions, you can get your toxicity score and get a free video series that answers all of your frequently asked questions about how to detox your body. Check it out, heavymetalsquiz.com.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for people to do this type of work, because so often people get caught in that revolving door, going to their doctor, trying to ameliorate this symptom or that symptom, and and they eventually realize that it's nothing's working. They're just getting worse and worse and worse. And I can't emphasize enough. That's why I do this whole podcast on detox. You have to add detoxification to your health regimen. It just defies common sense not to do that, because we're surrounded and breathing in toxins in our air, food, and water. And so it's we very, very toxic. It doesn't matter how healthy you are, how old you are. Most people are dealing with a pretty good level of toxins, and have to do something on a regular basis to facilitate their body being able to release that.
Absolutely. It's like brushing your teeth today. I mean, really, you have to bring in these new habits to stay healthy and happy into your late years.
Yes. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show. And anything else that you wanted to share with the audience?
I think I'm good. Just thank you so much for having me on, Wendy.
Okay, great. Yeah, and everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the Myers Detox podcast. And I love doing this show every week, bringing you experts from around the world to help you upgrade your health. So thanks for tuning in.
The Myers Detox podcast is created and hosted by Wendy Myers. This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Wendy Myers and the producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.